Hi everyone, welcome to Metagame Mastery. Rivals of Ixalan preview season has finally started. We're going to go over a few of those cards. Just as a warning, a couple of these cards are actually leaked, so if you're trying to avoid those, you can go ahead and exit now. Otherwise, if you do enjoy our content, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. First things first, Angrath the FlameChained. Planeswalker right out the gate. 5 casting cost, 3 colorless, black, red, 4 loyalty to start, +1, each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. -3, gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap it, it gains haste until end of turn, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step if its converted mana cost is 3 or less. And its ultimate is -8. Each opponent loses life equal to the number of cards in his or her graveyard. Wow. So there's a lot of information on pack here. First thing you'll notice is that his first and third abilities affect each opponent, which makes him very good for Commander. Now, discard typically doesn't do a whole lot in Commander. There is at least one Rakdos Commander who is discard oriented, and he just happens to be a Minotaur as well. His name's Neheb. And getting that exponential value of one trigger, your opponent's losing 3 cards, and a total of 6 life, that's value. You also have the threaten effect where you can manipulate the board state. And lastly, his ultimate, each opponent loses life equal to the number of cards in his or her graveyard. If you can get that off, in most games, you've basically just won. Of course, that's rare. Typically, you're going to be playing him just for his +1 ability as a value engine. But you never know. There could be that Jund deck with the doubling season who pops this off at the turn he comes into play and just wins on the spot. Next up, we have Kamina, Tyrant of Raska. 3-drop, 1 colorless, green, blue, 2/4, legendary Merfolk Shaman. He has 3 abilities. First one, tap another untapped Merfolk you control. He becomes unblockable this turn. Second one, tap 3 untapped Merfolk you control, draw a card. Third ability, tap 5 untapped Merfolk you control, put a +1/+1 counter on each Merfolk you control. Wow, that's a lot of power there. I mean, right out the gate, we're talking about a 3-drop, 2/4, passes the vanilla test. But then you've got the Merfolk tribe for the additional synergies. You can tap another untapped Merfolk you control to give them unblockable. Always good. Potential commander damage there. He's a legendary. And you've got his next 2 abilities that not only can you tap him toward the cost, but there's no limit on how many times you can activate them, nor is it restricted to instant or sorcery speed. So you can do so at instant speed at the end of your opponent's turn, as a combat trick, which leaves your Merfolk available to be used as blockers if need be. Now, a lot of people are looking for the card. What's the card that's going to help Merfolk Tribal break into Standard? Well, I don't think it's going to be just one card. This could be a piece, absolutely, but the real major impact this is going to have is in Commander, because this guy is the card that's going to bring that tribe into competitive Commander. It's got versatility, it's got power, it's low cost, and it gives Merfolk access to the Simic color combination. This is the card. If you're looking to build Merfolk and Commander, you start with Kamina. Next, we have Alinda, the Dusk Rose. 4-drop, 2 colorless, white, black, 1/1 legendary vampire knight. She has lifelink, and whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Alinda the Dusk Rose. When Alinda dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is Alinda's power. Okay. I can't foresee this getting any gameplay in Standard. I can't even see this getting any gameplay in Edgar Markov decks in EDH. This is going to be extremely niche. You have to be going deep in life gain and aristocrats build for Orzhov for this to make sense. Now, if you are that deep into the aristocrats build, she's got some power there. She might make the cut in your deck, but all in all, I think this is going to be a very niche card. This card, on the other hand, is instant staple quality. It's called Journey to Eternity. It's a 3-drop, 1 colorless, black-green, legendary enchant aura. Enchant target creature you control. When enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. Then return Journey to Eternity to the battlefield transformed under your control. It transforms into Etzil, Cave of Eternity. Legendary land, taps for 1 mana of any color. Color fixing right out the gate with mana ramp. Very good. And then it gains the additional ability of 3 colorless, black-green, tap. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Wow! Alright, Golgari power right here. And let's just say what needs to be said. This is going straight into Marin of the Clan Neltoth. With all the sack outlets she runs, you should be able to play this, transform it immediately, get value from being able to return the creature back to the battlefield as part of that initial trigger, and then you get the mana ramp to play Marin next turn. You get a repeatable recursion source that isn't tied to cost either. Not only does this give you a backup plan for when Marin inevitably draws aggro and removal from the rest of the table, but this bypasses any cost restrictions that Marin has to deal with initially with her experience counters ability. Fantastic. There's absolutely no reason every single Marin deck will be running this. Next we have the Talpa Primal Dawn. 8-drop, 6 colorless, white, 4/8 legendary Elder Dinosaur with all of the keywords, or at least that's what it looks like. We've got flying, double strike, vigilance, trample, and indestructible. Affectionately dubbed a Chromosaur already, this thing's going to be a monster. You're going to see this in Standard. There's potential to see this in Modern and Legacy play. This is going to be an EDH, and I don't just mean in Dinosaur Tribal, although it's cool. This thing is going to be reanimated left and right. I mean, whatever role a Chroma played previously, this thing plays just fine. Let's unpack all these abilities here. We've got flying for evasion. We've got double strike, so it is dealing 8 damage. It has vigilance so that it can attack and still be available to block. It has trample for double evasion and indestructible so that it has no fear of dying in combat. Incredible. This does it all. If you can cheat it into play, this will be outstanding. You've got Champion of Ronas, you've got Gifts, God Pharaoh's Gifts, you've got the Scarab God, all in Standard right now, and this is an amazing target for all of the above. this will see play. Get yours while they're hot. Now we go from super hot to barely lukewarm. Form of the Dinosaur. 6-drop enchantment. When Form of the Dinosaur enters the battlefield, your life total becomes 15. At the beginning of your upkeep, Form of the Dinosaur deals 15 damage to target creature an opponent controls, and that creature deals damage equal to its power to you. Okay. This is going to be a card that you struggle to find a use for in Limited. It's a total build around. Form of the Dragon sees extremely niche play. And while this is red, this is just not going to be a prevalent card in any format. It's cute. That's its problem. It's a cute card. It's a cute card that isn't going to win the game for you, and slowly but surely could cost you the game. Just not for me. Okay, now we've got a 4-language spoiler. It's Glorious Destiny. 3 mana, 2 colorless, and a white enchantment. Ascend. And for those of you who haven't seen our previous video, Ascend is if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. As Glorious Destiny enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1 and have vigilance as long as you control City's Blessing. Okay. So, this has been clarified to only affect creatures you control. That said, this is an extremely weak Anthem. I'm a huge fan of the Ascend mechanic, especially for Commander. But what we're talking about here is a weaker Intangible Virtue, weaker Always Watching, situationally comparable to Glorious Anthem, and Glorious Anthem sees extremely limited play as it is. This is just a bad card. There's no getting around it. This might see play in Limited, otherwise it's not worth your time. Now here's an exciting and interesting card. We've got Enter the Unknown. 1 green mana, sorcery, target creature you control explores. Now, if you weren't playing Limited through Ixalan over and over and over and over again, Explore is reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on the creature and put that card back or put it in your graveyard. Now, the next ability on the card is you may play an additional land this turn. So that's kind of neat. It's kind of synergistic because if you play it and you wind up revealing that land, putting it into your hand, you can immediately play it. Either way, it gives you the opportunity to ramp early and get a permanent buff on one of your creatures just by playing a little bit off curve one turn. Here's the reason why this isn't instantly insanely good, just as good as Explore was the card in Modern and all the other formats. It requires that you already have a creature in play. You can't play this turn 1 unless you're in a format where you have access to, say, Ornithopter, Memnite, etc. This will very rarely see play in Standard earlier than turn 3. I mean, you might be able to get it on turn 2, but this is usually a turn 3 play. Now, it's still decent at turn 3, but it doesn't pack quite the same punch. So when you're looking at it, you're seeing either it's solid ramp, it is solid ramp no matter what, but it's also very inconsistent creature pump, because if you've drafted enough Ixalan, one thing you know is when you're exploring, you have very little control. And eventually, it just doesn't come up your way. So, a lot of potential here. I don't see it being as widely played as some similar cards have been in the past. I will say though, for those of you out there looking to build that constructed Explorer deck, this is awesome. This is going to be a 4 of immediately. Okay, I love this card. Frilled Death Spitter. Ooh, what a name. Insert Jurassic Park jokes here. We've got a 3-drop, 2 colorless, 1 red mana, 3/2 dinosaur creature with Enrage. Whenever it is dealt damage, it deals 2 damage to target opponent. Okay. So creatures with Enrage that only have 2 toughness are very difficult to be able to get mileage out of that Enrage ability. Ultimately, you can only trigger it once per turn without the creature going away forever. That said, I love how aggressive this is, especially in red. You've got a 3-drop, 3/2. I mean, you've got 3 power coming at you as it is. It has the potential, especially if you've built around the Enrage mechanic, to deal 2 damage before combat, and then when it dies in combat, deal another 2 damage, and get 3 damage in on whatever's blocking it. That's 7 damage in a single turn off of a 3-drop spell. That's a lot of efficiency right there. Now, for those of you who are out there and really love Enrage mechanic, dinosaurs, Ixalan in general, you'll also notice that this is basically the polar opposite of Ravenous Daggertooth from Ixalan. Also a 3-drop, that one in green. Also a 3/2 with the Enrage ability. Only that one gains 2 life every time it's dealt damage. So that's kind of a neat design element there. I really enjoy that. Now, for those of you who are building your EDH Dinosaur tribal deck using Enrage as a value engine, this thing is awesome. If you're slapping on equipment, making stuff indestructible, and then just pinging, doing incremental damage to all creatures, you're going to be able to get value dealing damage to your opponents. If you're already doing it with Raptor Hatchling to generate dinosaur tokens, the possibilities are endless, and that's a really cool addition to a really cool deck. So I'm really stoked about this coming out. Now we've got another leaked card, so if you're trying to avoid them, I'm going to give you another opportunity to shut off your screen. That said, Thrashing Brontodon, 3 mana, 1 colorless, green, 3/4 dinosaur. With the ability, you can pay 1 colorless mana, sacrifice him, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Holy crap, this is a good card. Okay. So for standard purposes, this might see some sideboard play. Almost certainly won't be in modern or legacy. Let's talk about EDH. Oh my god, this card was needed on so many levels. First and foremost, it passes the vanilla test. You've got a 3-drop, 3/4. That's a solid body. Dinosaur, you've got the synergies. You could put them in Jisath, you could put them in Grimlock. But then on top of that, you have the ability to sacrifice him as to get a naturalized effect. That's very important because in Commander, there are a lot of creature-based decks that get shut down with, say, a Torpor Orb. Yeah, you know it. And then your answers are very hard to come by because your Acidic Slime, your Reclamation Sage, your two go-to removal effects, even your Manglehorn, are all negated by that Torpor Orb. This, on the other hand, you activate it once it's already been in play. This can kill that Torpor Orb, which makes it an automatic go-to for decks like Yissen, Animar, Rorik Thar. This is going to find many homes. This is going to be a mainstay in Commander for years to come. This is a great card. Granted, there are already effects out there like that. You've got Caustic Caterpillar, you've got Viridian Shaman, but none of them are at the 3 spot. And sometimes that's very, very relevant. So, and not to mention, they're not on as big a body, which makes this a great card. Just good board presence in case you don't need it right away. This is a great card. You're going to see it for years to come. Now we've got Swaggering Corsair. 3-drop, 2 colorless, red mana, 2/2 human pirate. With Raid. Swaggering Corsair enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it if you attacked with a creature this turn. Okay, so this guy. This guy, first of all, the flavor is just hilarious. I think everyone's going to have a lot of fun. He almost looks like he was ripped out of Unstable, doesn't he? That said, he's going to suck in every format that isn't limited, period. Now, in limited, he's not terrible because if you're drafting pirates, odds are you're being very aggressive. You're going to be able to do the raid trigger very consistently on turn 3. And then he's a 3/3 for 3 in red. That's not terrible. He can benefit from your tribal synergies. It's not the worst curve filler that you'll get. If you can't hit the raid trigger, though, that's where it becomes kind of awkward because you've got your 3-drop that's only a 2/2, and that feels pretty bad. He's going to make a fine 21st through 23rd in your limited formats, but otherwise, he's just not going to see any play. Okay, this card's pretty cool. We've got Secrets of the Golden City. 3-drop, 1 colorless, blue sorcery. Ascend. Draw 2 cards. If you have the city's blessing, draw 3 cards instead. Wow, that's pretty cool. Let's unpack this a little bit. First and foremost, it's got a little bit more color weight than Divination, but it has the potential upside of being 3 cards for 3 mana. That's really solid in any format. On top of that, the Ascend mechanic is just so easy to get in Commander. This is going to be very welcome in control decks. This is going to be a very popular card in many builds, especially since Standard is leaning towards control as it is. Now, on a side note, in the picture here, we seem to have some sort of bird person with no beak. Now, I've been playing for a long time, and I don't recall seeing any Avens that don't have beaks. I'm a little curious if they're doing something different in the lore here, but that's just speculation. Next up, another leak card. This is one you're not missing much by seeing it early. It's River Darter. He's a 3-drop, 2 colorless blue creature, 2/3 Merfolk Warrior. River Darter can't be blocked by dinosaurs. Okay, this is a cute card for you to have in the sideboard of your limited deck and serves no other purpose. It's amusing, but that's it. The best part about this card is actually its flavor text. Don't make splashes, make progress. That if you've read the lore, that's just the type of thing Tashana would say. But otherwise, this is just a dud card. It's cute, but it's a dud card. This isn't going to make the cut in any Merfolk constructed deck, and not going to make the cut in most limited decks either. This card's outstanding. We've got Tender Shoot Dryad, 5-drop, 4 colorless mana, green, 2/2 Dryad creature with Ascend. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green sapling creature token. Saplings you control get +2/+2 as long as you have City's Blessing. Holy cats! I cannot say enough about how good this card is. 5-drop. It's cheaper than, and I'm going to have to look him up. You're going to be able to start cranking out sapling tokens, not just on your turn, but on your opponent's turn as well. So in theory, just in a one-on-one game, by the time this has been around for one full turn cycle, you've got 4/4 on the board. But in Commander, that's every single upkeep with every single opponent. Oh my gosh, the exponential value that you're getting out of this. And then when you're pumping out 3/3s every turn, it's incredible the value. Now he is very fragile. He's a 2/2 for 5 mana. That doesn't feel very good. I mean, this guy could get pyroclasmed off the board. But you get your City's Blessing. You get your tokens every turn. And you have the ability to pump even the tokens you have from other sources, as long as they're saplings. Saplings are one of the oldest token types in the game. Rith the Awakener loves this. Riss loves this. Even Tristani loves this. This is an incredible, incredible, incredible card. It's going to be in many, many token decks all around Commander. Get used to it. You're going to see this one a lot. Next we have ATSA Seer. 3-drop, 1 colorless, green-white, 2/3 human druid. Has the ability to tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, sacrifice this card, return target dinosaur card from your graveyard to your hand. Alright, so 3 mana tapping for 1 of any color is not ideal. It's kind of a standard. I mean, you can see that in common sets or commons from sets in the past. Typically, if I'm going to have a 3-drop mana ramp creature, mana dork, I'm going to expect more than 1 mana out of it. But that's just me. Now, this is the 4th mana ramp piece for the Dinosaur deck. Is that enough to put it over the top? I don't know if this is enough to see standard play. One of the cool tricks you could do with this, though, is you could play him. You could tap him to float the mana and then sacrifice him. With the mana still floating, you could put that towards whatever you draw out of your graveyard. That's kind of neat. Very situational. Personally, for me, it doesn't make the cut outside of EDH. In EDH, even there, it's okay early. It does something late, but I've got better options by way of 3-drop mana dorks to really pump out my dinosaurs. Here's a card I'm excited about. Awakened Amalgam. 4-drop, 4 colorless, artifact creature golem. Awakened Amalgam's power and toughness are each equal to the number of differently named lands you control. Okay. This card is silly. It's going to suck in standard. It's going to suck in limited. It's going to be bad in so many formats. But you know what I love about this card is colorless commander decks. Okay, who even does that anymore? They're out there. They're extremely high skill level to build and be able to run effectively. We're talking about the Ulamog commander decks. We're talking about the original Karn commander decks. If you're still running colorless commander decks, kudos to you. Now, that being said, before Oath of the Gatewatch introduced wastes, there were no basic lands for those commander decks. And what everyone had to do is they had to find tons and tons and tons of non-basic lands that they could put in their commander deck because it's a singleton format. This guy scales with the game. You could power him out on turn 2 easy in those type of decks. And then you've got a turn 2 2/2. But then turn 3 he grows. Turn 4 he grows. If you manage to cheat out lands, he's continuing to grow with it. If you're just looking to get a body that scales with the game so that you can clog up the board and have solid board presence while you build up your other artifacts, combo pieces, this guy's going to do some work for you. Extremely niche, extremely corner case, but in those situations, he's going to be extremely cool. I think he's got a role to play, and for the Karn enthusiasts, for the Ulamog enthusiasts out there, you're really going to like this guy. And on that same note, we've got Gleaming Barrier. 2 mana, 2 colorless, 0/4 artifact creature wall. Defender. When Gleaming Barrier dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Okay. This is going to be a neat card, especially in limited, where you just want to slow the game down. 2 mana 0/4 is going to stop a lot of early game threats. And then when it's no longer useful, cash it in. Use it as a blocker and get the mana ramp out of it. Either way, you're going to have an artifact on the board. You can get artifact synergies. There's a lot of upsides to this. I think this is going to put in some work. In limited. Not so much anywhere else. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If I missed anything, you've got another use for the cards, or if you just hate the cards, leave a comment below. In the meantime, I hope everyone has a great 2018. I'll see you tomorrow.